In the past few decades, China's information industry has been lack of chips and relied heavily on imported technology in some key areas, which has directly led to domestic companies being suppressed by foreign companies such as Qualcomm. For example, in the field of mobile phones, most domestic mobile phone manufacturers rely heavily on Qualcomm chips and Google Android systems, which has resulted in the fact that they will never be able to surpass Apple. Although product sales are dozens of times that of Apple, profits are less than 20% of Apple's. This is such a big deal. Sad statistics. However, as Huawei continues to increase investment in scientific research, especially the strong rise of Kirin chips, Apple's good days of making money in the field of smartphones have finally come to an end. According to relevant data, at its peak, Huawei's mobile phone market share in China was as high as 56%, and it surpassed Apple and Samsung with its huge global market share advantage to become the world's largest mobile phone manufacturer. But what makes the Chinese people sad is that Huawei's strong rise has shaken the United States' global technology dominance, and it has been subject to comprehensive sanctions by the United States since 2019. In order to force Ren Zhengfei and Huawei to compromise, the United States first arrested Meng Wanzhou through long-arm jurisdiction, put Huawei on the Entity List, on the grounds of threatened national security, joined forces with its allies to exclude Huawei from 5G, and then forcibly revised the rules of the semiconductor industry, cutting off Huawei's chip source. Although the United States' repeated heavy hammering failed to defeat Huawei, it also beat Huawei Black and Blue, and the development of mobile phone and other businesses came to a standstill due to no cores available. Although Huawei is in trouble, the ultimate goal of the United States is not to suppress Huawei and more than 1,200 Chinese companies, but to make China give up developing the same high-tech industries as the United States. The United States' suppression of Chinese companies such as Huawei has not only failed to make China compromise, but has also led Chinese companies to embark on the path of self-research, making every effort to overcome stuck technologies such as chips, and by cutting orders, hundreds of billions of American chips have become the inventory, has caused Qualcomm, Intel, NVIDIA and other American chip companies to experience the bitter fruit of decoupling from Chinese companies in the technology field. Revenue and net profit have plummeted, and their market value has evaporated by trillions. Moreover, there have been the influence of machine industry continues to decline. The consequences of losing the Chinese market are serious. U.S. technology companies will never be able to bear it and have begun to clearly oppose the chip ban signed by the Biden administration. For example, Qualcomm said that the Chinese market is very important and Qualcomm will never give up. If the White House insists on its own way, although Qualcomm it cannot be changed, but it will never sit still. In addition, Bill Gates has repeatedly issued warnings, clearly stating that the U.S. chip blockade will only allow China to build more powerful chips and deprive American chip of its right to speak in the industry. NVIDIA CEO Huang Zhengxin also said that NVIDIA will use its own methods to conduct in-depth cooperation with Chinese companies. What breaks Biden's heart is that not only are American companies collectively opposed to his policies, China has also begun to use photovoltaics, rare earths, gallium and germanium to counterattack, which has seriously affected the development of high-tech industries in the United States. In the end, it had to use other means to counterattack. U.S. officials announced in public the conditions for lifting the ban on China. China cannot develop the same industries as the United States and must firmly support the United States' global hegemony. It must be said that the United States calculations are very loud, but they are whimsical. If China agrees to the so-called unlocking conditions of the United States, China will always be at the lowest end of the industrial chain, and its dream of becoming a technological power will be out of the question. China will never agree. Huawei is practicing the answer that China has never said. Ren Zhengfei officially announced at the Huawei conference that Huawei has completed the replacement development of 13,000 components and the development of more than 4,000 circuit boards, and has jointly developed basic tools such as EDA software with domestic companies. He also made it clear that Huawei will the mobile phone sales target is to exceed 40 million units. On August 29, Ren Zhengfei made a sudden showdown. Without holding a press conference, Huawei suddenly started selling Huawei Mate 60 Pro. Hundreds of thousands of units were sold out in a short period of time. Some netizens who had not caught up were annoyed. He said that he should not find a girlfriend because it affected his speed of action, and he would continue to stick to Huawei Mate 60 Pro. The sudden launch of Huawei Mate 60 Pro has aroused widespread attention and discussion. Many consumers who grabbed it have asked their souls, can Biden not handle it? Has the United States lifted the ban on Huawei? According to reports, Huawei Mate 60 Pro is equipped with Huawei's self-developed Kirin 9000's processor, and although it is not explicitly stated to be a 5G mobile phone, the network speed of the mobile phone has reached the 5G network speed standard. The author believes that the United States has not lifted the ban on Huawei. The Kirin 9000's chip used in Huawei Mate 60 Pro is likely to be manufactured by SMIC, and the BAW filter is likely to come from Beijing Huawei Electronics. Not long ago, Beijing Safe Electronics made it clear that its self-developed BAW filters have not only achieved large-scale mass production, but also signed a long-term purchase agreement with a certain customer. It is not difficult to see from these news that it was not the United States that lifted the ban on Huawei, but Huawei that broke the U.S. technological blockade and achieved its return and rise. The fact that Huawei has been able to reach this point despite years of full-scale suppression by the United States has a lot to do with Huawei's emphasis on scientific research, active layout, and Ren Zhengfei's spirit of never giving up. All three are indispensable. Ren Zhengfei once said that no matter how difficult the road ahead is, Huawei will not give up its exploration and pursuit of high-end cutting-edge technologies as long as it does not fall. Nowadays, Hongmeng's system has full wings, Kirin chips have begun to return, Huawei mobile phones are returning as the king, and Apple's good days are once again coming to an end. So, the question is, Huawei Mate 60 Pro is about to be released as an iPhone 15 series mobile phone. What method will Cook use to retaliate to Ren Zhengfei?